Consent. Hi, Chris Lafazanos. You are now
Hello,
being
Caitlin.
recorded
Cool bunny.
on my Zoom. You said consent. Do you consent to this video being chopped up and shared on multiple social media platforms so that you and I can share all the goodness that you offer the world?
Yes, I consent. I give you
Thank
my
you.
image and my words to edit and do with as you please, as you see fit.
Thank you so much. That is exceptionally generous, and I am grateful to have you here. So if you're willing, I'll get you to do a little introduction, and
Mhm,
then we'll like pause in between so I can do the editing, the snippets.
mhm.
So whenever
Sounds good.
you're ready.
Yeah. Hello. My name is Christine Lafazanos. You can call me Chris. She and they work well for me as a mix of pronouns. I serve my community as a ceremony guide. I'm based in Guelph in the Grand River watershed. And it's been coming up on 10 years now that I've been working as a ceremony guide. So I work with people to create meaningful, story-filled, non-religious or spiritual ceremonies to help people cross thresholds from one state to another, to honor milestones, to celebrate, to grieve. And so that could look like weddings and commitment ceremonies, end of life ceremonies, child welcoming ceremonies, divorce ceremonies, ceremonies to honor the life cycle. The overarching goal is ceremony as a way to connect deeply to our own story, to reweave ourselves to each other, to the earth, and to the divine. And as a queer, non-binary, weirdo, pagan, animist witch, it's my happy zone to work with other people who are looking for alternative, non-traditional, unconventional approaches to ceremony and ritual. I want people who will feel deeply seen by me and that I'll be able to hold a container for who they are so that people can kind of relax into the process of ceremony co-creation.
And that's why I invited you here, Chris, because I have known you for a long time, and you were at my dad's celebration of life, and you did a phenomenal job. And
Yeah.
you took three of my family members and made us all feel seen, even though we had very different views on life and death
Yeah.
and how a celebration of life should go. So I can vouch for your celebrancy brilliance about having people be seen in all sorts of areas.
Thank you.
What a beautiful introduction.
Mm,
Really excited to be talking to you because this is important work that we're doing and bringing to the
mhm,
earth.
mhm,
Okay, so we'll start with question number one.
mhm,
What got you into pregnancy support? Your
mhm,
version of pregnancy support.
mhm. So I got into doing beginning of life ceremonies through doing celebrant work. The vision of Woven Threads, which is the name of my business, spiritual practice slash whatever you want to call it. um, uh, uh, the overarching vision is the timeless support of ceremony and ritual. And we live in a culture right now that has, in secular Western culture, has a really limiting view of where ceremony and ritual can be alive and present in people's lives. And it's like it's so odd to me that like weddings and funerals are kind of like the two kind of like more guaranteed ceremonies that people are expected to do. And beginning of life ceremonies has always been a part of what I'm excited about
Mm-hmm.
for offering ceremony and ritual to my community. And it was wild when I began that there was this sort of like crisis of imagination that we've been so disconnected from these processes that I would tell people like beginning of life ceremonies, like child welcoming ceremonies, adoption ceremonies, parent blessing, or like mother blessing, if you identify with that identity. And people will be like, what? And I would have to kind of translate it and relate it to something that they might be a little bit more familiar with and be like, oh, like a non-religious baptism. People go, oh. Um, to kind of try and understand it. Um, so an interest in doing beginning of life ceremonies has always been a part of the vision for woven threads. And over the years, I've had the honor of being able to do adoption ceremonies, parent blessings, mother blessings, and various different versions of child welcoming ceremonies, be they secular or like more pagan or like earth-based spirituality, or ones where there's family members who are Christian and want to bring in elements and symbols that have meaning also in Christian traditions, but also the parents, in that case, related to those symbols, the symbol of the waters of life. Yeah. So that's how I got started. They're so lovely. They make me so happy doing those kinds of ceremonies, and I definitely want to do more.
Yay. I want you to do more because to me, I love how you said that this is your like spiritual practice because for
Mm,
me too, it's connecting people with themselves, with each other, and with the planet is
hmm
so huge. Yeah. So
hmm
hopefully people will hear that baptism is one way to celebrate the divine or the sacred of a birth
hmm
or a child coming into your life or a new relationship that
hmm
is a mentor mentee sort of relationship.
hmm hmm
However people want to approach it, it sounds like you can find the words and the symbols and the way of putting that together.
hmm hmm Yeah, yeah. I'm
Love it.
not a parent. I have never been pregnant, but I am fluent in the language of ritual, right? And that's why it's a co-creation process because I have a process of listening for and asking, what are your intentions? What are your wish for this? Like why, what is the why of this moment and this ceremony and this ritual for you? And then to be able to be like, okay, in order to and then learning a little bit about who people are and how they encounter the divine, what their family and cultural milieu is, and then being able to be like, okay, based on these intentions, based on your personality, based on this sort of set of ritual practices or ritual language that you're already comfortable and familiar with, how about, options A through Z? And then they go, ooh, I like
Yeah.
that. No, I don't want that. And
Yeah.
that's how we create it together. So, and part of me wonders at this point if there's a usefulness to sort of like being outside of like being a parent
I think so.
that there's a potentially, I don't know if I've thought about this a lot, but potentially there's the like I don't have my own projections of like
Yep.
what a good birth is or what a good parent is or my own fears about how I'm raising my children, um to sort of like bring into the mix. I don't know.
I was thinking the same thing, and you do have family that you love,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? People, little ones in your life who you love and
Yes.
adore. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like you're a neutral vessel that all the lies can fall off of, and the truth of that beautiful connection can come through.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Thanks.
And I love that you acknowledge that. I think that's an important truth sharing. Like there's medicine in that to me that is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so
Mm-hmm.
good. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, question, what is your favorite part of working with pregnant people and their support system?
Mm. It's such there's a beautiful emotional complexity and honesty to working with folks at that time. The the joy, the excitement, the love, the hope is really big. And also it's undeniable the grief, the doubt, the fear that's part of the process. I do a lot of weddings and people sort of assume it's all happy, when like that might not be the case, right? Like people might have gone through really big obstacles to be able to like show up in relationship in the way that they want to. There might be grief that goes unseen because you have loved ones who have died who are not with you, or you have family members who are abusive or toxic and they're actively being shielded out of the celebration, right? But we don't necessarily see that. But the complexity of emotions for folks who are pregnant or, in my case, also supporting people who are adopting is like so palpable. And it's just, I love the idea of being able to come in with ceremony as this like big supportive container for all of that. This like circle of like wise oak trees that can like root you really deep, right? Or this ocean you can stand beside that can mirror like the small and large waves of the process that you're going through, right? It's such a divine and beautiful and important transition and role to be a life bringer and a life nurturer. Like it just sometimes I think in our modern world we don't stop enough to just like have our minds blown about like
Yeah,
what a miracle like the everyday things and the technological things, the fact that we're talking over the internet right now, like it's
I
just
know.
like it's amazing. And it's a beautiful and raw and real and meaningful and deep transition of life to be present to and to be able to offer support of um yeah.
Yeah. I use ritual in all my stuff too. And when I was going through it, because my kids are now 15 and a half and 18 and a half, it was harder to find someone like you
Yeah.
to help move through those processes that may have been hard or even easy sometimes. And I love the support that you're capable of offering and excited to offer
Mm.
in so in my language I would call it the shadow and the light, that people are often willing to see the light of having a baby or adopting or bringing someone new into their world, but that you're right, all the hard, challenging shadow aspects of life come into toxicity and danger and
Hmm.
who knows what could come in. You just never know. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
had two midwives that were fighting. I would have loved to have a ritual to get rid of that crap.
You'd be
That's
like,
not good in my
excuse me,
home.
that's not mine. Can you
No,
please
I
say
know.
that?
I know.
No, 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 no. That you telling them that, you telling the
Yeah.
midwives, like, can you
Yeah.
please take that energy not in
Exactly.
this fear of me trying to birth?
Exactly, exactly. So I'll have doulas on. I know you're a celebrant, so that's not exactly your thing, but I just all of those beautiful, I would call them like sacred protectors,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's to me, you're almost like a protector of story and truth and
Mm.
everything being seen, not just the shined up sort of version that our culture loves so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And that's like there are many aspects to ourselves, our physical needs, our emotional and our spiritual needs. And I have such huge respect and honor for the people in the care team who are intimately knowledgeable about like the physical aspects of what it means to have like a healthy pregnancy or to birth and have everyone be alive and well as can be
yeah,
expected and hoped for.
yeah,
Yeah, and I feel like my role is a little bit more the spiritual or the emotional part of things, and
yeah,
and and it's a necessary antidote to a culture that is like not focused on that, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I
You
find,
just brought up something actually in that last comment that I hope you don't mind me veering a little bit off course, but
please do.
um, oh, oh, you mentioned that there are healthy pregnancies and then there aren't always healthy pregnancies. And I happen to know you celebrate life and death. And so that would be something that you would be very helpful with if the pregnancy doesn't go according to plan and
Mm-hmm.
someone in the situation or both people in the situation die. That would be
Mm-hmm.
something that someone could call you with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Pregnancy loss, miscarriage, infant loss, um, would definitely be something that I could step in and offer support. And I feel called at some point in the future when I have um, the right person to partner with who has maybe more experience and more of a both feet in the world of pregnancy and supporting birthing people. I'd love the idea of like a community or like a group ritual for people who have experienced pregnancy loss or people who have
Mm,
experienced infant loss. Because our culture is not very, our secular culture is not very skilled at grieving, and grieving like grieving a miscarriage, grieving a pregnancy, from the experiences I've learned from friends and other reading that I've done, can be kind of sidelined and made
yeah,
invisible and
yeah,
not really understood as um, a true grief. People are kind of like, oh, get over it. Oh, it wasn't even really your baby, and like they weren't Earthside, like you
yeah.
know, and and that's so traumatizing. And if
So
we
traumatizing.
and like, if we, yeah, we need spaces to grieve and to honor that grief and to see that grief. And again, I'm not a substitute for a therapist or a grief
Mhm.
counselor, but to be able to celebrate the hopes and the life of this little one, even if whether they were here for hours or weeks or years, right? To be able
Yeah.
to.
I think you're an important part of I hate the word closure, um, but in this case, because it never gets closed, right? The loss is always with you, as we know about losses. But it
Yeah.
is the counseling is one part, the being with family and friends is one part, but this ritual and ceremony can really help, in my experience, like nourish our like cellular memory of the experience, like
Mm.
in a
Hmm.
very sacred way. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I love that we can share this with people and they can at least call you and see if it works, or email you, or there are other people doing this work too. If people are not um, interested in the types of spirituality that you're working with, there are other
Hmm.
celebrants who are aimed at Christianity or Catholicism or Buddhism, or you name it. There's a celebrant who could help create this ritual, right?
Yeah.
And help support um, that sacred essence or the divine or the soul or whatever
Hmm.
people's spirituality feel
Hmm.
a deep connection with, that is deeply missing in our secular world.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's so
yeah,
fascinating to read the works of um, of other ritualists and ceremonialists who aren't from Western contexts. Like
yeah,
someone like Patrice Malidoma Somé, who like is like I think it's like Nigerian born like medicine man
yeah.
whose kind of mission is to like he's passed away now. Yes. Yes, I think so. Um and oh, look, a cardinal, a bright red cardinal on the fence behind me.
Of
Ah,
course,
that's
I love
beautiful.
it.
Oh, hi, friend. Oh, hi, spirit. And he talks like he had. I read a book of his called Ritual, where he just offhandedly, really casually was like, "Oh my gosh, I can tell you're a society of a lot of people who haven't gone through coming of age rituals." That like
Right, because we're
phrase,
all
like
Peter Pan. Yeah,
a phrase
boys
like
and
child is like is real, right? Like
yeah,
children who have never been ushered into adulthood, who can only think of themselves and don't have the maturity of understanding that they live in an interdependent web, that they are
yeah.
responsible to themselves and responsible to the
Oh,
people and beyond human
yeah.
life
Whoa.
that they're with, right? And it's sort of
You
like,
just blew my mind and explained so many questions. I've put prayers out to happiness. I did not expect that today. Thank you so much.
yeah. But it's sort of like from an outside context, they can be like, it's really clear y'all haven't had the rituals that help move you through the life stage process, right? And I'm just sort of like, oh, is it that obvious?
It's that, when you say it, I'm like, why didn't I see that sooner? But you're so true. I remember saying that to people. I'm like, you haven't had any loss, have you? Or you haven't had any hardship, or you haven't had any. I mean, that would be as close as our culture gets to that kind of ritual, right? As sort
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
like a just happenstance experience of that. And then
Yeah.
some of us who had those things happen pursued deeper things. More, we leaned on other cultures so that we could heal and grow and not be left the walking wounded. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Woo, we went deep. Should we swing back up to the surface a little bit?
As we like, go follow
I
the
know.
waves.
I know. I know. Um, are you okay for time too? I want to check in
Yes, plenty of time.
because I can't remember what I told you, but I'm realizing um it's a longer, but I think these questions are so good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and feel free to like be as concise or not. Is there a time I should track you for so that I?
Uh, by 12:30.
Oh yeah, and I'm hopefully before that because I'll be. This is so like deep and wonderful, but I will be tired. It's been a new moon.
Yes.
Yes. So what are three things or two things or one thing that surprised you that pregnant folks don't know?
Uh, the one thing that surprises me as it relates to ceremony
Yes.
offerings, which I started talking about in another question, is it surprises me that people don't know that like ritual and ceremony exist to support people through this. That people have a hard time being like, oh, well, what does a child welcoming ceremony mean, and what could that look like? And it's like, oh, things like talking about, your intentions and hopes as a parent or as parents. Talking about the name that you've chosen and what history and meaning that
Mm,
has, grounding you like in your ancestors, and like um, calling in like the love and support of your departed dead, who are there as guides and spirits, for you and your little one, calling in your community and asking for their support, or having them reflect back to you the skills and the strengths that you have that they know will serve you and your new little one well, right? It could be appointing some sort of like guide parent role, or asking someone in addition to the immediate family unit to step in as like a spiritual or emotional guide for people. It's like, yeah. And it could be like, depending on if there are spiritual beliefs to be reflected on, to be brought in, it could be kind of like a dedication to the web of life, right? I did like a lovely
mm-hmm.
like four elements blessing during one child welcoming ceremony where we were in the water, and they had like the older sister helping, and so we were inviting the guidance and support of earth, air, fire, and water. So we like put a little bit of like mud on the like sole of the baby's foot to like, and the big sister helped, to like bring in the blessings of earth. And
Wow.
then we blew gently in her face or something. I forget exactly, to bring in the blessings of air. And
Yeah.
um, that's just one small example of like how your spiritual beliefs and your spiritual grounding can come into this, um, because we're not just. I feel like I might be getting ahead with the next question here, but maybe here I'll pause for a sec. I should stick maybe with this question. Surprise.
I love it.
Yeah.
My all of me is like, yes, yes, tell me more. Okay, well, let's see if the next question is helpful. I love that because this really is why I wanted to do interviews like this, is that people really don't know. And I'm sure you find it exhausting to do the work you do, to market, to, tell people who you are, to get them to know, like, and trust you because you are so knowable, likable, and trustworthy.
Mm.
I know that, but no one else, who know. If a stranger going, oh yeah, a celebrant, oh, a birth thing, oh, maybe that sounds interesting, but like scary, or
Yeah.
new or weird, or
Yeah.
oh, I think I just lost you there for a second. Hold
Yeah.
on. Sorry, too many things blowing away. Sorry, so let me back up as my hands were waving in there. So this wanting people to see how nourishing this is very important for me, for the
Mm-hmm.
parents, for the grandparents, for whatever words you use to describe all the elders and the human beings around this new arrival.
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yeah.
it because like you said, the turmoil and the hardship and the joy can all get a bit confusing, and there's something beautiful about bringing people back together, you
Hmm.
know, kind of
Hmm.
like at a finish line when people go woohoo, you
Yeah,
know, you ran through the tape, you got to this part of the journey, now sit back, have some good food, let's talk about it, let's reminisce, let's
yeah, yeah,
love it up, let's cry, let's scream, let's do whatever is needed to
yeah, yeah,
start the next part of the journey. It's kind of
yeah,
what I hear you saying. Those are my
yeah.
own words.
Yeah, no, that feels like it matches. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
like right now, I think we can see the yearning um for ceremony, for the ways that ceremony helps you be seen, acknowledged, and supported by your community. I think we can see that longing in things like baby showers and like
yeah,
gender reveal parties. They
yeah.
disgust me. Um, I think gender reveal parties are bad for humanity and don't help queer and trans people exist in the world. Let's break down the binaries instead of reinforcing them right at the beginning of someone's life.
Yes.
And baby showers, in my personal experience, focus too much on stuff and on
Yeah.
items. And
Yeah.
material safety is a good thing to think about. And there are deeper layers of it. I remember going to a baby shower, and someone had the abundance of like a number of elders who of like women who had birthed among them like 15 children. And it's like, I love that you gave a baby blanket. And also, do you know how much wisdom and experience is in the room right now?
Right.
Why are we talking about wooden trucks
Uh,
when
right.
when if we did a tiny bit of story gathering, like everyone would be crying, everyone would be laughing,
Uh,
everyone's mind would be blown and hearts would
yeah.
be open and we'd be energetically and spiritually connected in a way that would carry us through,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And like there's this illusion of like a birthing person or parents being like the illusion of like individualism, of like this fear that I hear of like, am I going to be a good mother? Am I going to be a good parent? Am I going to be a good father? And it's like that makes me sad to hear because that tells me that we're not as connected as communities and layers, circles of that we could be, right? It's like, what if we knew how to bring our grief to the river in ritual? What if we knew, like, when we were faced in a moment of indecision or doubt, we knew how to still ourselves in the forest and like listen to our ancestors or listen to the soil or the animals that were connected to teach
Yeah.
us and
Yeah.
and talk to us, right? Like there is no I, there is no singular person raising a child, right? It takes a village,
Never.
but
Never.
yeah, it's so much more
Yeah.
than our living human supports, right? It's our,
Oh, so much more. You're
yeah,
making me think of the part of that comes from like behavioral and cognitive psychology, right? Which was invented in the beginning of the turn of the 20th
yes,
century. And this idea of like the tabula rasa, which is like a blank slate. And it's been disproven over and over again, but lots of people love to still be like, yes, children are blank slates. And anyone who's ever, you know, I think my one child actually pulled the cord and like came out early. Like I literally went into labor 6.5 weeks early, but I'm like, that child had an intent. And like when they looked at me in the eye, we're like, I arrived. I was like, yes, you did.
hey, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's super interesting to me hearing how, because this is like, so I'm a yoga teacher background and a Reiki master background, and then traditional Chinese medicine, and I'm going, oh yeah, this is totally nourishing my sixth and my seventh chakra. And like my third is going, oh, I can send roots down now. And my first is feeling grounded because of all the things
mm,
you're saying. So
mm,
I see the world energetically, but I see you connecting all these chakra imbalances that with clients, like it didn't matter with the spiritual body work. If they didn't, like I would tell people, go, you need to do ritual. I'd even give them ideas. Nothing as beautiful as yours. I honestly gotta say, oh, These are
sure.
like, this is like, stick drawings kind of ritual level where you're like, some beautiful, I don't even know a name of an artist to name right now, but you're a beautiful artist in the world of ceremony, in my opinion. So I love this. I love that you're talking about this, doing this. I hope more people use this. This is like worth its weight in gold, the time, the energy, the money, the deeply nourishing experience that people will have is
Mm,
huge.
mm.
Huge.
Yeah. As I
Huge.
was prepping for this chat, I got this like vision of like a group ritual and ceremony, and I'm like, I want to do some research because I'm like, if I can imagine it, it's happened before.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, what if like thinking about like the layers of support, like what if you could have like a group of like pregnant people and you could do like meditation and ritual or like mask work to like help them connect with like the elements, stone, fire, mountains, or the animals, bears, deer, worms, I don't care, whatever they're connected to, that
Mm,
whose energy and teachings support that birthing person strongly, right? And
yeah,
we could
yeah.
like do ritual of inhabiting and inhabiting the energies of those ones and inviting those ones to like be in our consciousness in a more forward way so that you would have a felt sense in your body of all of these supports that are here and that you could draw from. And when you're sort of like, okay, when I need rest, okay, that's the energy of lavender, and how can I bring
Mm,
that energy forward? Or like when I need to defend the boundaries of like my care, I need to bring that like bear energy or that
yeah,
like whatever it embodies, like like a fierce protector of
yeah,
self and of
yeah,
family to you, right? And it's like,
yeah.
how fucking cool would that be? Pardon, I don't know, swearing.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm trying to figure out how to do all those things that exactly like you said. I'm
But
sure
how
we'll
cool would
figure
that
it
be
out.
of like a
Oh,
room full of people who are like howling together with their like
yeah.
wild wolf energy? I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
And I just want to say too, like for those people who might identify as introverted or highly sensitive people or autistic, they might want to do one-on-one ceremonies.
Hmm.
So that's possible too, right? Like that it
Hmm.
doesn't have like, because I know some people are going to watch this and be like, groups, not
Yeah,
part of my constellation kind of
yeah,
experience,
yeah,
but
yeah,
deeply spiritual, deeply connected to stuff.
yeah,
So they could do this too, right?
yeah,
It would just be
definitely.
a different version of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's the beauty of it, right? Is that
Yeah.
you define what would be a supportive and nurturing experience for you, right?
Yeah.
So I've
Yeah.
done ceremonies like this that are, you know, for people,
Yeah.
um, up to like, I don't think any of them have been more than like 15
Yeah.
people, right?
Beautiful. It's
Um,
intimate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you can be like, oh, I need this to just be me and my partner if you're birthing with a partner, right? Or like
Yes.
the two of us and two of our closest friends. I can't have my family around. My family don't get
Yeah.
who I am, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
maybe you need it two separate pieces. Maybe you're like, my family of origin, my parents expect something. So we're going to do something here that works for them. And then, but I need something a little bit different. And so one-on-one will create something that, or it could even just be like a consultation where I
Yep.
talk with someone and I'm like, we talk through what they could do on their own. If they're like, really, if
Beautiful.
anyone else is around, I'm going to be distracted. Like,
Yeah.
I need to be seen and witnessed in this and supported and encouraged. And then I'm going to go do the ritual on my own by the lake.
Yeah.
And then we can have another sort of like integration or check in chat after, you know?
Beautiful. And I'm just thinking because I'm deeply connected to neurodiverse communities as well as queer communities and that sort of thing. The lake is gorgeous, but sometimes we have to start with a bathtub or a sink of water or a bowl of water or a spritz bottle of water. That water is water is water. And we can
Yes.
definitely take the essence of that energy. I
Hmm.
just want everyone to know that because I know you know this. I just wanted everyone to know that Christine is very flexible and adaptable
Hmm.
to um, neurodiverse people and
Hmm.
gender bending people and people who are maybe on the fringe a little bit more. You
Hmm.
seem to see and understand
Yeah.
as well as mainstream. Like you seem to be able to bridge
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
speak many different languages, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
now becoming a skill to, like we've been talking about, build community, because community is about seeing the differences and the diversities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of my skills is sort of like this kind of boundary walker, right? Where it's
Yeah,
like I can
and an
create
excellent
I can create a child
translator.
welcoming ceremony that like meets the needs of like the queer feminist witch
Yes,
and who's one of the parents and is still accessible and beautiful and meaningful to the like straight middle class white Christian grandparents, right?
love it. That could be your
Sort of,
tagline right there. That's your elevator pitch. We got it for you.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
amazing.
Make the queer witches happy, make the Catholic aunties happy. We're all there together.
We are all there together. We are all there together. I love it. That makes my heart so happy. Okay, now this might be a big one, and please just honor your scope of practice and what you're feeling about this question. But if you have three recommendations or two or one for a pregnancy, like what a pregnancy shouldn't be without.
Yeah. I feel
I
like
know it's
in
a
ways
big
that
question.
I feel like in ways I've already answered this one. To put it more succinctly,
Yeah,
again, without
succincted.
being a parent or having gone through pregnancy, I feel like people who are pregnant shouldn't be without an understanding of the many circles of care and support that are around them, be they living humans, non-living ancestors, guides in spirit form that have never been human, the elements of earth, air, fire, and water, other deities that they might be connected to, our animal kin, our tree kin, the waters, that you're never just a single person birthing, right? And and those ideas and concepts, I think, isolate us, separate us from each other, and ultimately harm us. What if it was a common understanding in our culture that birth is the earth birthing new life, and you're a
Mm.
vehicle for the earth birthing new life, and that you can't possibly do this alone because the earth is birthing through you, right? How would that change things?
Totally. You're just reminding me of a story that I would like. It's not even a story. It's a scientific fact. If people love science, it's an epigenetic fact. But at one point, like at the point that someone is pregnant and there is a baby growing inside their womb, the their uterus, that um whatever the gender ends up being, that the DNA, so the egg and the sperm, for three generations is already there. So the original, it would be like the grandmother at one point is holding, I'm going to use female pronouns because I don't even know how to make this non-binary at this point, but you can help me afterwards because I would love to. I know I'm being very binary right now. The grandmother has the future mother who already has her eggs in her ovaries
Mm-hmm,
all at once
mm-hmm,
for however long that gestation is. Same
mm-hmm,
if there's sperm in the testicles.
mm-hmm,
So it's three generations are together for that period of time.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's like mind blowing.
yeah, yeah. Ugh, I
And
was just
it's and
listening. Yeah,
we're all swimming in all the feelings and neurotransmitters, and so
yeah,
for this sacred period of time, three generations are in one way or another commingling,
yeah, yeah,
regardless of gender.
yeah. For
Mm.
thousands of years, humans have given birth without so many of the modern essentials that we think are necessary for birthing to happen. And of course, I mean, infant mortality and, birthing parent mortality has been much higher
Yeah.
in some of those cases. But it's like, think of how many generations you're a descendant from. Think of how many thousands of people gave birth so that you could be here. Like that power is inside you. right?
Yeah.
Like you said, epigenetics, even if you don't connect to the spiritual level of it,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
just the physical level of that fact
Yeah.
of like bodies
Yeah.
know how to do this. Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
baby knows how to arrive in this world. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's fascinating. It's sort of like you don't, when you're pregnant, you don't wake up and you're like, okay, we're at day 98. I need to work on this part of the spine today. I need to start forming the liver.
I know.
Like you don't. Like it
Thank
happens.
gosh.
I
I
know,
still
right?
I still remember with my daughter standing in chapters, and I was like 8 weeks pregnant, and so the little being would have been the size of a grain of rice, and I remember just standing there going, no one knows there's this sacred thing going on inside my uterus, and I just felt like I was glowing and expanding, and like there must have been a beacon that people could tell that I was doing this, and there was nothing. It's just like the magic in me happening, and I didn't have to think about it. I mean, I had to slow down if like vomiting happened and such, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite a mesmerizing, just awe-inspiring experience.
Yeah. And, and to concretize that in ritual, like
Yeah.
imagine just like if you had five people there with you who had also given birth or who were part of
Yeah.
your family line, if you have, close and supportive relationships with your family of origin, who could surround you and tell you some of their strength and their positive stories and reflect
Yes.
back to you your strengths and you and your partner, if you're birthing with a partner, your abilities, and you could just sort of like carry that with you into the next phases and the next stages, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do know this to be true because I've done red tent rituals. So I didn't have a ritual for my first menses, but later in life, I did go back and do that and did that for my daughter. And it's incredible
Mm.
how that changed me. Because it did. I felt like I stepped into something different. We did ceremony and ritual and art and poetry and
Wow.
all sorts of stuff. And I remember it to this day. I remember those women to this day. I remember the room to this day. I can go back to that energy in what I call the morphic field. I can
Yeah,
harness that energy. Like our
yeah,
brains are super powerful. This is
yeah.
like sports psychology. We probably
Mm.
haven't studied sports psychology, but they actually use this
Yeah,
for athletes.
yeah,
So we should use it for us in good, nourishing way. Let's use it
yeah,
for not winning the football game or the race, but like for
yeah,
being, nourishing humans.
yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Oh, I'd
Maybe
love to hear
we got
more
some
about.
good visions going, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd
Yeah.
love to hear
Don't
more
worry, there's
sometime about
yeah,
those ceremonies
there's
that you've done.
yeah, there's more to come, I'm sure. Okay. Want to be respectful of your time, but this is exactly what I wanted.
This is great.
Juicy, good, uh, like the five flavors, like the five elements. It's all like, you know,
Mm.
holographic. Um, so thank you for summarizing that. Okay, let's get down to the like, hopefully by now people are as in love with you as I am, and they want some of that good energy and that ritual ceremonial experience
Mm.
with a sacred teacher. And um, when should a pregnant person or a person who's birthed, maybe even, come and see you?
Mhm.
Um, how long does the experience typically last? And if you feel comfortable sharing what the cost is in 2023.
Mhm, mhm. Yep, yep. Happy to go through that a little bit. So I always begin with a free 30-minute like video chat. So if it's important to feel like we're a good fit together, it's important to feel like you're comfortable with me and my approach. It's important for me to know that I'm a good fit for what you're looking for. And we begin by sort of like trying to outline the intention and the vision and the need that's present in the request to co-create ritual and ceremony. So I can work with people who are pregnant and who are wanting to prep for that upcoming threshold of birth. I can work with people if they lose a pregnancy and have and want to be able to move through that grief. I can work with people who have given birth and want to create ceremony to welcome the child into their community. Um, and I can also work with folks if they have an infant who has died and want to create ceremony and ritual around honoring that little one's life and moving through the grief of that. The process typically after a first chat is usually like maybe a little bit of homework of like reflecting on things and giving you some questions to gather stories and get to know you a little bit more. And then typically it's 2 meetings ahead of the ceremony. The second meeting is planning the details of what's going to happen during the ceremony and ritual, who you'd like there, how you want to create the space, and then sort of crafting the full version of the ceremony and working together to evolve it into its final phase and then doing the ceremony itself. So typically 2 meetings and then the ritual or ceremony itself. Um, and depending on what folks are looking for, prices typically start at like $300 plus HST and up. It depends on how large or small of a ritual is, how custom or sort of like simple they want it, how many people or rituals or elements they want involved. Sliding scale pricing is also available. So for whatever fee I quote, I'll give you the option of choosing 50% of that fee or like 75% of that fee, because it's really important to me that everyone feels met and supported with ceremony, no matter what their financial means. There are people whose families are helping them pay for things. So let them pay me full price. And if you're someone who is not of those financial means, but really resonates with the process and of working together, then we can make it happen. Um, yeah, I think that answers the questions.
I think you answered those questions excellently. Um, so did you want to give your contact information that's the easiest for people to get a hold of you with?
Yeah. So the easiest is to head to my website. My business is Woven Threads. So my website is woven-threads.ca. And from there, you can fill out a contact form or phone me or email me. You can also find me on Instagram at woven underscore threads. I think that's my handle.
Sounds right.
But yeah, the first stage is always just chatting to see if we're a good fit before making any commitments and yeah, and doing any money.
And I love that about you. And I just want to build even more. Like, have you ever said no to a client like this isn't a good fit? Is that a funny
There
question?
was, yeah, you can totally ask that. There was one client where after the initial call, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a good fit. And then they canceled
Yeah.
soon after. And I was like, oh, yeah, someone else took care of that for me. I try
You
and
know
be,
what? I find that true. I have taken a sabbatical recently, but when I used to have people connect with me, I showed up as almost 150% myself
yes,
because I wanted people to self screen.
yes,
Like I wanted people to know who I was, what they could do with me. And then I wanted them to have the freedom to not like spend money on something that was not really theirs because they felt guilty or bad or that it
yeah,
was something they should do. So I
yeah,
love, yeah,
yeah,
I love that you
yeah,
have the free time that people can feel if this works for them. And then that your prices seem fair and reasonable, and that you have the options of the sliding scales. Very, very generous and appreciative of your and I happen to know that you actually mean this too. This isn't like some sales gimmick, which I just need people to know too.
oh
Yeah,
gosh, no.
there's
Yeah,
no bait and switch in this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
which
But
is
yeah, how
appreciated.
cool. I'd love to be like I like the idea of being like the celebrant or ceremony guide for my community or for a family, right? And
Yes.
learning stories and then being able to build on that. Maybe it's a parent blessing and then a child welcoming, and then we meet again in 10 years or 15 years to do like the coming of age ceremony for that little one,
Yeah.
right? Not so
And that
little.
means so much, that content. It's almost like you use the Baptist analogy, like almost like you're a minister, right? Of
Hmm. Hmm.
people's stories.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their thresholds and transitions and changes in their lives.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
need that. This is going to change the world if we boost up this level of
Yeah,
because
there
it's
are.
so it's archetypally needed. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Happy to be one thread in the tapestry of what we need. Yeah.
The part of the woven threads, which is why your thing is so beautiful.
Metaphors, they just spill out of me.
I love it. I love it. I'm like, and I feel like, is there anything else you'd like to add or share? By no means you've answered all my questions, and I'm grateful that I can introduce you to the world in this way.
Hmm. Hmm. Anything else? Here, just one sec. I wrote down
Yeah,
a couple of things. Let me make sure there was.
yeah, I love it. Yeah, because that was my agenda. Now, if you have an agenda that you need to get out to the world, I am your platform.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're good. I
Look
think
at
I
us.
talked through most of the all the things that were burning on my heart to be able to share. Yeah, yeah,
I love it. I love
yeah.
it.
And oh, maybe the other things I would say is that you don't always need someone like me. Some people are comfortable um, with their own ritual language to be able to craft something for themselves,
Mhm.
to be able to craft something in their immediate group of supports, be that family, chosen family, or friends and loved ones. Or maybe you're in a community that does ceremony for each other already, and you have a
Mhm.
set of practices, you have um, a built sense of trust and safety. I'm all for meaningful, nourishing ceremony and ritual happening.
Yeah.
However that happens, I am in favor of. But I know sometimes it's helpful to have someone else not part of your group be able to come in and be able to hold that space and hold that container. Or if you know you want to do the thing, but you don't know what the thing looks like or how to get there, that's where I can come in. And again, it can
Yeah.
be just a consultation where I talk you through, I help you brainstorm and develop ideas that you're going to take to your people to do, right? And you don't want
Yeah.
an outsider, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or I can be brought in to move through the full process of expanding upon the ideas, scripting something, and then holding space for the ceremony or ritual to happen.
Beautiful. Like so many options.
Hmm.
So much. It's like the human palette, right? Is so full of color and diversity, and we can just pick and choose what painting we're making
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
And you have the flexibility of doing the stick figures like I was doing, or you can make this elaborate,
yeah,
mesmerizing like trilogy if something if you need
yeah.
to. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
wonderful.
and the last thing I would say is it's not uncommon for me to collaborate with other folks for pieces of the ceremony. So um for example, I've worked with Indigenous elders a number of times. If people want to be able to reflect that aspect of their identity
Hmm.
and that aspect of ritual and ceremony that's important to them, that I
Beautiful.
can collaborate with other people if you have multiple different faiths, or maybe there's multiple different languages in the
Hmm.
group, and so you want someone to be able to do a blessing not in English and in a language that I can't do justice to. I have a small competency with some European languages, but
I
uh,
love it.
but in the spirit of co-creation and recognizing that people are many different things and many
Hmm.
different pieces, if
Hmm.
you want to be able to bring other teachers or wisdom keepers or languages or traditions and rituals from a culture where it would be inappropriate for me to do that act,
Yeah.
that ritual act, but you want to be able to bring someone in. I've done it before, and it's a beautiful process, and I welcome that. Mhm.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I know that feeling as a doula where I'm there for emotional and spiritual support, but like no episiotomies or drugs or like don't want to catch the baby. Just
Yeah.
like let the doctors do that, let the doula do what they do, and then like everyone has their piece in the story,
Mhm.
right? Is
Mhm.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you know your abilities and you trust other people to know theirs, and
Mhm.
you're willing to show up and create that community
Mhm. Mhm.
or be part of it. You don't even
Mhm.
have to be the leader.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yay, this is so good, Chris. I'm so happy that we got this together. I think we started doing this I started putting out invites in August or September, and I'm trusted the process of how this baby was going to unfold. And like, I felt like I was overdue, like in terms of birthing this, but I feel like it's just in time,
Mm.
just on
Mhm.
time that this interview is happening in a beautiful, perfect way for both of us. I feel like we rocked it. It went very smoothly, like we're professionals here.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming and sharing your heart and your wisdom and the wisdom that you've gathered from all the ancestors and all the elements and all the
Mm.
spirits. I've almost cried a couple times. I've gotten chills. Um, and I
Mm.
just feel so blessed to have this
Mm.
sacred. We actually went a little bit, I think almost an hour was what we did, like in terms of recording. So that's a beautiful container and lots of good answers. And
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
perfect.
Thank you for making space for this and for inviting me into it. You've been such an important teacher in my life too.
Oh,
It's beautiful to be able to contribute to this work of yours because I know it will be imbued with the same heart and fierce spirit that you put into everything that you do. So yeah.
aw, thanks. I appreciate that. No, I don't know. Okay. Okay. I was saying to someone the other day that like the heart, like when your heart is open, it like almost mists you, right? Like tears sometimes feel like just the heat of the heart, just like warming everything and
Mm,
like bubbling. It bubbles everything up, and
yeah.
it's just yeah.
Yeah. When I
It's
tell
we're
people I
just
cry at the funerals that I officiate, they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Of course I do."
yes, your heart is open. That's my goal. That's my like. I'll tell it at the end because most people won't see the end. I really know that part of the issue right now is people's hearts aren't open and they're deeply wounded. So of
Mm,
course it's not easy to open them, and then it's not easy to heal them.
mhm,
And that's sort of what I see my mission now is I love talking to people, networking. I see these connective threads, and
mm,
I'm gonna not muck about in them, but I'm gonna try and like highlight some of them.
mhm, mhm. Beautiful.
Yeah, see if we can't heal these hearts of ours.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah,
That's beautiful, Kissy. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Thank
Okay,
you
I'm
so
gonna
much.
stop recording
Mhm,
and say thank you now.
mhm.